Hey guys, today we're going to be installing our Prinsu Pro Rack on this Ford Super Duty here. We're also going to be showing you how to do the same steps for your OG rack, very similar process. And this is going to fit any of the Super Duties in the 2017 and up generation. Nice thing about this rack is there's factory mounting on the vehicle, so you don't have to drill. All right, first step after you unbox everything is going to be laying it all out and making sure you've got all your parts. So we've got our noise reducing trim, wind deflector, we've got our wind deflector mount, then we've got 7 crossbars. Whether you have the OG or Pro rack, you're going to be using the same mounting feet. They're going to be labeled 1 through 6. 1 through 3 will be on the driver's side, 4 through 6 on the passenger side. Then you're going to have your side rails. And if you've got the Pro rack, then you'll also have your additional inner side rails. All right, for assembling our wind deflector, you're gonna have your wind deflector mounting crossbar right here. It's already threaded, so what you're gonna do is take your wind deflector, line up the mounting holes, then you can just start off the screws by hand. After you get them started by hand, it's going to take a 5/32 Allen wrench. All right, then once you've got your wind deflector mounted on the crossbar, you can take your noise reducing trim and start working it through on the bottom edge. So you have the bulb facing down. Next thing we're going to do is mount up our outer and inner side rails, so the crossbars here. So for that, you're going to use these longer 1-inch screws. It's going to use the same 5/32 Allen drive. And along with that, your hardware kit will come with some Vibratite. And we're just going to put a little drop of that on each of these screws before we start tightening them down. So I'm going to grab the inner side rail, place it in the outer side rail like that, and we're just going to lift it up to the crossbar. This part's a little tricky, so if you got an extra pair of hands to help out, that's always nice, but you can do it with just one person. Then moving on to mounting our wind deflector crossbar. For that, you're going to use the same screws as the other crossbars. The only difference is we're going to be using these 1/4-inch nuts on the back side of it. So you're going to either need a 7/16 socket or wrench just to hold those nuts in on the back side once we start tightening it down. Next thing we're going to do is attach our mounting feet to the side rails. They're going to use the same screws again as the crossbars. Just going to put a little drop of Vibratite on these as well. Then for the driver's side, they're going to be labeled 1, 2, and 3. Then again on the passenger side, 4, 5, and 6. All right, now that we've got our roof rack assembled, we're going to move on to the vehicle, and we need to remove the strip rail trim right here. So for that, I'm going to use these plastic removal tools, and we're just going to start working our way through here and popping these clips out. This one's already been off before, so it's going to come out a little easier for me than it will for you guys on your first go around. They do hold it in pretty well. Let's see. So once you've got the clips popped up like this, then in order to get the front end out, you're gonna need to take your drip rail and slide it forward. So now that we've got it out, you can see the clips right here that are holding it in. So they'll sit on these studs. And then in the very back of the vehicle, there is this plastic piece that rests on a stud as well. That part is gonna need to be split to pull out, unfortunately. Next thing we're gonna do is start removing the factory bolts from our mounting locations. So these are relatively small. You're gonna need a 7mm socket. The first two that we're gonna remove are centered around this post right here. And they are painted and siliconed over, so sometimes that silicone may bind up with the washer. So you may have to trim a little out with a knife or just get something under the lip of the washer to help pop it out. Then we're gonna keep moving back along the vehicle. You'll run across the second post. We're gonna keep on moving past that till you get to the third post. And then again, we're gonna take out the two bolts that are centered around it. Then we're gonna keep doing the same thing or move along, come to another post, skip over that again, and we'll get to this last post here and take out the two bolts centered around it. All right, now we've got the factory bolts out. You're gonna take these rubber washers from your mounting hardware kit. We're just gonna set those over the holes. Then we're gonna take our aluminum spacers and set those on top of the rubber washers. And we'll keep moving on down and do that for all the bolts that we took out. Fill up the inside of those spacers. A little bit extra never hurts. And after this, we'll go and repeat the process on the other side of the vehicle. Now we've got the rack up on the roof, we're gonna go ahead and put in our mounting bolts. They're gonna take an 8mm socket to tighten them down. But as always, we're just gonna start them off by hand at first. Before you fully tighten everything down, you're gonna wanna make sure that your rack is sitting even from side to side. It's part of the reason we start them off loose, so that gives you the ability to slide it, make any slight modifications you need to make sure you're running parallel to the vehicle on both sides. All right, now we've got everything up here, just a few finishing touches you can do. I started the rack off in its highest position off the vehicle. You can see on the mounting feet, there's some slight height adjustment. And at that level, we've got just a tiny gap underneath the wind deflector. So I'm gonna loosen those up right now. That'll bring the rack down a little bit closer to the roof. And we'll head on to the other side and do the same thing. And then one last finishing touch, if you'd like to do it, is you can take that factory drip rail and section it off to put it back in front of and in between the mounting feet if you desire. This is just plastic all the way through, so it's pretty easy to trim with a cutoff wheel or saw. You know, just a little finishing touch that some people like to do. For this customer, we're leaving it out, but if you'd like to, that's always an option to set it back in. All right, one final note for customers that have the panoramic sunroof. You will need to take this crossbar here and move it into this larger slot here or this larger slot here. That's just going to ensure that you've got plenty enough clearance between your roof when it is, well, your sunroof when it's tilted up. Once it's slid all the way back, it stays flat and you've got good clearance. But if you do plan on using the tilt function, then you'll want to move this crossbar. All right, there you have it. The rack is installed. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you got any comments or questions, leave them below, and we'll see you out on the trails.